For 300 years, Earth was silent. No signals, no messages, no ships, nothing. Across the galaxy, the name Earth slowly faded. Many young species never even heard of humans. To them, Earth was just an old story, something from the past, something that no longer mattered. But to the older empires, the ones that had fought with humans, traded with them, and even feared them, Earth's silence was strange. Too strange. The Varnock Council remembered Earth's last words before the silence began. "We will return when the time is right." No one knew what that meant. Many thought Earth had destroyed itself. Others believed they had moved to another galaxy. A few believed humans had just given up. Whatever the reason, Earth went quiet, and the galaxy moved on. Planets grew, wars came and went, new alliances formed. In the minds of most, humans were gone forever, until one day, they spoke again. It started as a whisper, a strange signal, caught by an old listening station on the edge of the Trenzar system. The signal was short, only 4 words. "We are awake now." The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. At first, the station commander thought it was a joke, maybe a pirate broadcast. But when he traced the origin, his face turned pale. The signal had come from Earth. He sent the report to his superiors. Within hours, the message reached every major empire. Panic spread faster than light. The High Xenari Empire held an emergency meeting. "Earth is dead," shouted one general. "This must be a trick." "No," said the Empress. "If that message is real, the galaxy is about to change." The Xenari were once the strongest enemy of Earth. They remembered the power of human weapons, the strength of their minds, the way humans had united in the final years before their silence. The Empress whispered to her advisor, "What have they become in 300 years of silence?" No one had the answer, and that was the most terrifying part. In the neutral zone, the Skeelan traders met in secret. "We can't let Earth return. They'll destroy trade," one leader said. "Or they'll make it better," another replied. But the real question was this: why now? Why did Earth choose this moment to return? The answer came a day later. Every major capital across the galaxy received a second message. This time it wasn't just a signal, it was a direct voice. Calm, human, strong. The voice said, "We do not come in war. We do not come in peace. We come to see what the galaxy has become." And then, silence again. Now, fear turned into action. The Valari Union sent scout ships toward Earth. None returned. The Rel Dominion tried to block space around Earth's old coordinates. Their ships malfunctioned without warning. Every empire had the same thought: Earth is back. And they're stronger than ever. No one knew what kind of power humans now held. In 300 years, technology had advanced across the stars. But if Earth had grown in silence, without distraction, without war, what had they created? Some believed Earth had found a way to control dark matter. Others whispered about time travel. Some said humans no longer needed ships. Whatever the truth, the galaxy agreed on one thing: Earth was no longer weak. In a small colony far from the galactic core, a young alien named Rava sat with her grandfather. He was old enough to remember Earth before the silence. "Grandfather," she asked, "are the stories true? Did humans really save the Yulari from extinction? Did they really fight the Xenari with only 1/10 of their fleet?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, child. Humans were strange, kind but dangerous, silent but loud when they had to be. They were different." "Are you scared?" she asked. He looked at the stars and whispered, "I'm not scared that they're back. I'm scared of why they went quiet in the first place, and why they're speaking now." Across the galaxy, billions looked toward Earth's location. The stars there were still dark, but everyone felt it. Something was coming. And when humans finally arrived, nothing would be the same again. The message from Earth echoed across the stars, and then everything went quiet again. But silence was no longer peace. Every empire, every leader, every traitor in the galaxy felt it. Something had changed. In deep space across cold moons and bright cities, the question spread like fire. Why had Earth returned now? And what did they mean by, "We do not come in war. We do not come in peace"? The Varnock Council met again in secret. They had faced humans long ago. They knew Earth's old strength. But this felt different. Their words are calm, but full of power, one council member said. They could be watching us already, another whispered. Listening, waiting. A third stood up slowly. What if they never left? What if Earth was never silent, only listening? The room grew quiet. From politics and war rooms on a peaceful farming world named Alara, a young boy named Kalen looked up at the stars. He pointed at the constellation where Earth once was. "Is it true, Grandpa?" he asked. "Did Earth really disappear?" His grandfather nodded slowly. "They didn't disappear, child. They chose silence. And now, they've chosen to speak." "But what do they want?" The old man looked toward the sky. "Maybe not what we expect." The mystery grew deeper when Earth sent no more messages. No explanation. No details. Just silence again. That silence became louder than words. Every species began guessing. Some believed it was a test. Others thought Earth was waiting to see who would react first. The Zinari, proud and powerful, made their move. They sent a quiet, unmanned probe toward Earth's last known position. It vanished. No explosion. No message. Just gone. Their scientists were confused. "It's like the probe never existed," one said, and that scared them more than anything else. Then came the lights. At the edge of the Andari system, far from trade routes and cities, a strange energy pulse lit up the sky. It was soft, beautiful, like the birth of a new star, but it wasn't natural. It came with no heat, no sound, and lasted only 5 seconds. Ships tried to scan it. Nothing. The pulse ended, and with it, a signal spread to every ship within 10 light years. Still watching. That was all, but it was enough. People began to speak in whispers. They said Earth had found a new kind of power. Not one of weapons or machines, but something deeper. Something that could not be measured. Even the oldest and wisest species had no answers. The Valari sent a team of explorers to a distant archive, planet of knowledge that held records going back 1,000,000 years. They searched for anything similar, anything that matched Earth's message, their silence, their strange return. They found one thing, a story, very old, from a time before stars had names. It spoke of a world that chose silence to protect others. A world that watched while others fought. A world that waited until it was needed, and when it finally returned, it didn't need weapons to change the galaxy. It only needed words. Back in the core worlds, the Galactic Assembly called an emergency session. Hundreds of species gathered. The main topic: what should we do about Earth? But no one agreed. Some wanted to speak to Earth directly. Some said to stay quiet. Others were afraid to even say Earth's name out loud. One young diplomat stood and said, "Maybe we should ask what they're waiting for. Maybe the real question isn't what Earth will do, but what we will do first." That sentence was recorded and replayed across the stars. Everyone knew they were being watched, not just from Earth, but maybe from everywhere. And still, Earth remained quiet. Not a word, not a whisper. Only their message echoed again and again in every mind. We are awake now. And in that silence, the galaxy began to change, without a single ship landing, without a single word more spoken. Earth had returned, and the galaxy could feel it. A strange calm spread through the galaxy. It was not peace. It was the stillness, before something unknown. Every species, every leader, every traveler could feel it. Earth had spoken just once. They gave no warning, no demands, only that they were awake. But now, without saying another word, Earth was changing everything on the edge of the neutral zones, small changes started to appear. Old satellites, broken and forgotten for centuries, began working again, but not by anyone's command. Messages once erased started to show up in private networks. Messages written in old human code, codes that no one had used in over 200 years. They were simple phrases like, "We remember," "We see you," "Are you ready?" No one knew how these messages were sent or who received them first, but one thing was clear. These weren't random signals. They were chosen, and they felt personal. The Triac Science Group, the most advanced researchers in the galaxy, tried to study the human messages. They built new machines to decode them, hoping to find answers. But the more they tried, the stranger the results became. Their computers started showing things that weren't programmed. Stars that didn't exist on any map. Coordinates that led to black space, areas known to be empty. But when a small team of scientists visited one of the locations, they found something impossible. A structure, not a ship, not a station, just there, floating, silent, glowing with soft blue light. No doors, no windows, no signs of life, only one marking written in ancient Earth language. You are not alone. Back in the heart of the galaxy, more signs started to appear. In old human museums sealed since Earth's silence, lights began to turn on by themselves. Doors opened without being touched. One museum had an old Earth artifact, a cracked piece of armor from a time long past. For 300 years it had been quiet. Now it hummed, a quiet sound, not loud but steady, like it had been waiting for something or someone. In a small research outpost on the moon of Selenar, a group of students studied early human history. They didn't expect anything unusual. But one of them, a girl named Mira, opened a file marked as unreadable. To her surprise, the file opened. No password, no security block. Inside there was a video. Just one. It showed a human speaking calmly. Behind them, Earth could be, seen from space, silent, dark, but whole. The human said, "When we return, it won't be to take back what we lost. It will be to remind the stars who we are." Then the screen faded to black. The students sat in silence. One of them whispered. They knew this would happen. They planned it. But no one could say why. Soon strange dreams began to spread among people. It started with those who had studied Earth or worked near their old systems. But then even others, farmers, pilots, children, started having them too. They all described the same thing: a light falling from the sky, a voice calling their name, and a sense of something ancient waking up. Doctors called it a shared illusion. Scientists called it mental feedback. But the people who dreamed it? They called it a sign, a soft message sent not through sound or speech, but through thought. Leaders across the galaxy began to meet again, this time more quietly, more carefully. They didn't talk about defense. They talked about memory. What had they forgotten? What did they miss while Earth was silent? Some believed Earth had learned something that others hadn't, something older than technology, something deeper than science. The Zarathi monks spoke of an ancient prophecy. A world once loud will go quiet. In silence, it will grow. And when it returns, it will guide, not with power, but with presence. For centuries, they thought it meant a myth. Now they wondered if it meant Earth. Still, Earth said nothing more. No ships came, no armies moved, only signs. Small, quiet, strange, appeared across the stars. And with each new sign, one feeling grew stronger. The galaxy was no longer in control. Something greater was returning. And everyone, no matter who they were or where they lived, felt the same question growing louder in their minds. What will Earth do next? The galaxy was no longer the same. The silence from Earth wasn't just silence, it was a presence, a weight. A message without words. For weeks, ships, stations, and entire worlds waited. What would happen next? When would Earth finally make its move? Then it came. A single, small object appeared in the sky of a planet far from the galactic core. It didn't come in with the speed of a ship. It didn't leave any trace of energy behind it. It simply appeared, hovering in space. It was perfectly round, smooth, shimmering with a soft, silver glow. No one knew what it was. No one knew how it had gotten there. At first, people thought it was a new human creation, something designed to be seen but not touched. But the strange thing was, it didn't seem to belong to any civilization. And then, it moved. Slowly, gently, as though it was being guided by an invisible force. Across the galaxy, people could see it no matter where they were. It was impossible to ignore. It didn't broadcast a message. It didn't ask for anything. But the message was clear. It had come from Earth. On the planet Corin, a group of scientists gathered to observe the object. They watched it through advanced telescopes, measuring its energy, its movement, and its strange soft light. Maybe it's just a new kind of technology, one of the scientists suggested. Something we've never seen before. But another spoke up, more cautious. No. It's not like anything we've ever seen. There's no energy, signature, no heat. It's as if it's not part of the galaxy at all. They couldn't explain it. They could only wonder why it was there and what it meant. A few days later, the object vanished. Just like that. One moment, it was there. The next, it was gone. No sign of destruction, no explosion, nothing. It simply ceased to exist in the space where it had been. But even in its disappearance, it left something behind. A small message, embedded in the memories of everyone who had witnessed it. We are still here. The galaxy was shaken. It was not just the message. It was the feeling of something much larger at play, something ancient, something that could shape the very stars. The leaders of the various empires met again, this time in person. We've been blind, one Zainari leader said. The humans didn't just disappear. They've been here all along, watching, waiting, and now they've made their move. The Empress of the Valari Union added, but we don't know what they want. We're not the ones who need to know what they want, a new voice spoke up. We need to ask ourselves, what do we want? The room grew silent. What did they want from Earth? What did they hope? For there were no answers. As the days passed, more strange events followed. Old human artifacts thought to be lost began showing up again in strange places. A journal that had been locked away for centuries was suddenly found in a distant moon's library, as though it had been waiting for someone to read it. A single line from the journal echoed through the galaxy. We were never truly gone. We only waited for the right time. People began to whisper. Could it be true? Had Earth really waited this long for the perfect moment? And if so, why? Back on the peaceful world of Alara, Kalen sat on the hill where he had first looked up at the stars. He had heard the stories, everyone had, but now it felt real. It felt like Earth was not just a place in history but a living thing, waiting for the galaxy to wake up. His grandfather joined him, sitting silently by his side. They both looked up at the stars, each one holding a secret, each one calling them to something bigger. Grandfather, do you think Earth is still watching us? Kalen asked softly. His grandfather nodded, looking out into the endless space. I don't know, Kalen. But whatever it is, it's something we all need to understand. Earth isn't just a memory, it's a story still being written, and we are all part of it. The galaxy waited, and in that waiting, something else changed. Quiet wasn't a barrier, it wasn't a wall, it was a door, and Earth wasn't knocking. It was standing there, waiting for the galaxy to find its way to it. The mystery of Earth was far from over. It had only just begun. The galaxy was on the edge of something it couldn't understand. The air was thick with tension, uncertainty, and anticipation. Everyone knew something was coming, but no one knew when. Earth's silence had become a presence, something more powerful than any weapon. The message they sent was simple, yet it shook the galaxy to its core. We are still here, but what did that really mean? What was Earth waiting for? On the planet Ilion, far from the major trade routes, the strange occurrences began to multiply. Old human ships, which had been abandoned for hundreds of years, started to drift out of abandoned stations, still intact, as though they had never been left behind in the first place. They didn't have engines running, yet they moved through space. It was as if they were being guided. The Ilion fleet tried to track one of these ships, but every time they tried to get close, the ship would vanish, leaving behind only a faint trace of energy, a faint glow that seemed to whisper. The mystery didn't stop there. In every corner of the galaxy, people began noticing something strange. Old records, long thought to be forgotten, started coming back to life. Old human songs, poems, and writings that had once been erased began playing in homes and on ships, without anyone activating them. They didn't come from human sources, they came from somewhere else, and they were all the same message, a simple one. We are waiting for you. But waiting for whom? On the bustling world of Tyros, a young diplomat named Alira was asked to meet with a group of intergalactic leaders. The topic was Earth, of course. What are we supposed to do? One of the leaders asked. How do we prepare for a return we never saw coming? Alira stood quietly, thinking. I don't think Earth wants us to prepare. I think they want us to remember. Remember what? Another leader scoffed. Earth is gone. It's been silent for over 300 years. We've moved on. But Alira didn't agree. She had felt the presence. It was more than just a message. It was a feeling that ran deep, like a heartbeat in the distance. I think Earth never truly left, she said softly. It just faded away. But now it's ready to remind us. Her words hung in the air, unanswered, but they couldn't be forgotten. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, a quiet revolution was beginning. A movement, led by a few curious minds and old Earth followers, began to spread through the galaxy. It wasn't about fighting or taking back power. It was about understanding, about unlocking the mystery of Earth's return and what it meant for everyone. On the moon of Thessara, a small group of scientists began working in secret, compiling the records, the strange occurrences, and the ancient human artifacts that had resurfaced. They believed Earth had left behind a message, not in words, but in symbols. The strange objects that had appeared, the old technology that had been reactivated, all had something in common. They weren't just signs, they were clues. Days turned into weeks, and the galaxy became increasingly aware of the pull Earth had on them. It wasn't something that could be ignored anymore. On every world, the people were talking, questioning, wondering, what was Earth's real message? In a quiet village on the world of Virdan, a small child named Lyra stared up at the stars one evening, her eyes wide with curiosity. She had heard the stories, but now she wanted to see the truth for herself. She whispered to her grandfather, "Do you think Earth will show us the way?" Her grandfather smiled gently, looking out at the stars. "Maybe, child. Maybe it's not about showing us the way. Maybe it's about reminding us of the path we've forgotten." One by one, the galaxy began to come together in a way it hadn't in centuries. The message was clear now. Earth wasn't asking for anything. It wasn't asking for tribute or for control. It was asking the galaxy to remember. Remember what they had once known. Remember what had been lost. And more importantly, remember who they had been before all the wars, the fights, the divisions. Earth wasn't waiting for the galaxy to act. Earth was waiting for them to listen. And then, without warning, Earth sent out one final message. A single phrase that resonated in every heart, on every ship, on every station. It is time. The galaxy froze. Whatever they had been waiting for was now beginning. Would they be ready? The moment the message echoed across the galaxy, everything changed. It is time. For some, it felt like the weight of an ancient promise. For others, like a challenge they weren't sure they were ready for. No one truly understood what those words meant, but they knew one thing. The time had come for something big, something that would affect everyone. Across every world, people gathered. Governments, fleets, and citizens of all races began to watch, wait, and listen. What was Earth waiting for? What did it want from them? In the capital of the Valari Empire, the leaders sat in a grand council room. The message had reached them like a bolt of lightning, and no one could speak for a long time. "I've been watching this for weeks," said Zora, the leader of the Zenari fleet. "I don't think this is a simple communication. I think this is a call to action." A quiet murmur spread through the room. "Action?" questioned the Valari Empress, her voice steady but uncertain. "What do you mean? Are we supposed to make a move, join them?" Zora shook her head. "No, I believe Earth has already made its move, and it's up to us to decide what we will do next." Thousands of light years away, in a forgotten corner of the galaxy, a group of humans on the planet Leona watched the same message. It had been centuries since they had lived among the stars, but now Earth had called them back. And it wasn't just a call, it was an invitation. The planet's horizon was lit up by a strange glow. The humans gathered near a large stone structure that had once been used for communication with the outer colonies. Now, it hummed to life once more. "I've waited my whole life for this," said a young man named Eli, his voice trembling. "I don't think this is just about us. I think Earth is giving us all a chance to choose." The old woman standing beside him, his grandmother, smiled softly. "You're right, Eli. It's not just about Earth anymore. This is about every single world, every being in the galaxy. We have been waiting for a time to unite, to remember who we were and who we can become." In the months that followed, something extraordinary began to happen. The silence that had hung over the galaxy for centuries began to lift. On distant worlds, the people started talking to each other in a way they never had before. The ancient divisions, the old grudges, all seemed to melt away in the wake of Earth's message. It wasn't that they suddenly agreed on everything, but the call from Earth had stirred something deep inside them. People remembered what it meant to work together, to build something greater than themselves. On the bright world of Atora, an old historian named Maris stood before a crowd. Her voice rang clear and strong, as though it were carrying the weight of history itself. "We have forgotten what it means to be united," she said, looking out at the sea of faces. "For too long we've lived in isolation, torn apart by our own fears. But Earth is asking us to remember. It's not asking us to forget who we are, but to remember who we were before." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd. They had all heard the stories, the tales of a time when the galaxy was more than just a collection of distant planets. It had been a place of connection, of shared knowledge and peace. Earth had been the beating heart of that unity. Maris raised a hand. "It's not too late. The time is now. We have a chance to become one again." Back on Earth, the old ruins that had once been part of the ancient cities were starting to change. They were no longer just remnants of a forgotten past. The world was waking up slowly but surely. Humanity's silence had been long, but their return was something more. It wasn't just about coming back. It was about showing the galaxy the way forward. The leaders of Earth had gathered in a quiet chamber beneath the ruins. They had been silent for a long time, watching. But now, they had decided it was time to speak once more. "We've waited for the galaxy to listen," the speaker said, his voice calm but full of purpose. "Now it's time for us to show them that we are not just a distant memory. We are a future waiting to be built." The doors to the chamber slowly opened. The galaxy, once distant and divided, was now waiting, and Earth was ready to take the first step. The next day, the first ships left Earth's atmosphere in over 300 years. They didn't carry soldiers, nor did they come with weapons. They carried something far more important: hope. The ships traveled to every corner of the galaxy, each one carrying a different message, a different vision. They were not an invasion. They were an invitation. Earth had come back, but not to claim anything. Earth had come back to give the galaxy something it had lost long ago, the chance to choose. And somewhere, in the darkest reaches of space, something stirred. The long-forgotten races of the galaxy were watching. They had heard Earth's call, and they would decide if they were ready to take the first steps back into the light. The time had come, and what they would decide next would shape the future of the galaxy forever.